Welcome back. You're still onto KAFTAN Television and you are onto the press. We are broadcasting live from the Abuja studios of KAFTAN Television, and we go to the newspaper headlines. I have with me Mr. Ben Agunloye, a public affairs analyst, a seasoned one for that matter. It's my privilege, my honor to welcome you once again.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. So we go to the papers now. We take the Daily Independent as starters. Now, from the Daily Independent, you have the major report, the major headline that says BoT backs governors, recognizes Udeh-Okoye as party scribe. And you have a rider, supports March 13 for PDP NEC meeting. Then you have you have a picture story where you find the president shaking hands with the NSA, and then some other persons. You find some of the ministers, Gbajabiamila and all that in that story. And then you have side pieces by the picture story. One of them says Dogara attributes Boko Haram and other security challenges to bad governance. And that's to be traced to page 29. Electoral fraud, court jails another professor in Akwa Ibom. That's in page 7, on page 7. Naiti mounts pressure on Senate for solid minerals sector reforms. That's on page 7 also. Reps urge federal government to declare Ondo coastal communities disaster zones. And you also have reps ask NCC to probe illegal linking of NIN by telecom providers. Illegal linking of NIN by telecom providers. That's the little strip, the lowest strip down on that paper. And right on top of that, you find Tinubu jacks up 2025 budget from 49.7 trillion to 54.2 trillion. And then you have a rider departs for France ahead of AU summit in Addis Ababa. Apparently that's what that picture story is all about. Apparently when it was about jetting off, they saw him off, and that's what the picture is about. And on top of the masthead of the Daily Independent, you have Ganduje says Tinubu reforms painful but unavoidable. Painful but unavoidable. And there are two riders there. It says receives Ned Nwoko into APC and says APC will take over Delta. You also have a second piece on top of that masthead. It says Obasanjo, Sultan, Khan, others preach religious tolerance for United Nation. Obasanjo, Sultan, Khan, others preach religious tolerance for United Nation. And we will go from there to Vanguard. So we take the Vanguard newspaper next. I guess we just take all the papers at once and then mark out the major headlines and tackle them, analyze them. So onto the Vanguard right now. The major story here, or the major headline here, says experts warn of dangers as Tinubu jacks up 2025 budget to 54.2 trillion naira. And you have right under that you have there are several riders here as NAS promises to pass budget before end of February. And then you have another one. It is in conflict with CBN policy. That's High Cap speaking there, High Cap boss. And then it says it will increase size of deficits. Adeosun, that's the ex CIS president. And then you also have why 2025 budget was increased to 54.2 trillion. That's the budget minister speaking there. And then under that you have a picture story, and under the picture story you have three pieces. First one says ex-depot price drops by 2.7% to 895 naira per liter. You also have PDP crisis. BoT orders National Working Committee to swear in Udeh-Okoye as National Secretary. Then you have sports 2026 FIFA World Cup. Super Eagles receive Okoye boost ahead Rwanda Zimbabwe ties. Then on top of the masthead, you have three pieces there. First of all, there's a strip on top, topmost up. It says Oando sets to distribute 1.28 billion additional shares to shareholders. I'll take that again. Oando sets to distribute 1.28 billion additional shares to shareholders. And then under that strip, you have Lagos Assembly crisis. Miranda survives as Tinubu fails to meet GAC team. Miranda, that is the recently sworn in Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Miranda, survives as Tinubu fails to meet GAC team. The second piece says some estranged ECOWAS members may opt to return. That's the presidency speaking there. And then you also have electoral fraud. Court sentences varsity don Professor Uduk to 3 years in jail. And that will be it for... Okay, there is one little piece by the picture story. It says how government officials paid for one hospital project 5 times. That's very interesting. How government officials paid for one hospital project 5 times. That's the ICPC making that disclosure. What a... Well, let's wait till we get to the analysis stage. I guess we'll go to the next paper, and that will be... let's take the Tribune newspaper. So, from the Tribune newspaper, the major headline says, like governors, PDP BoT endorses Udeh-Okoye as National Secretary. Like governors, that is both the governors and the PDP Board of Trustees are on the same page. It says, like governors, PDP BoT endorses Udeh-Okoye as National Secretary. And there's the rider, two riders. One says, one seems sworn in immediately. One seems sworn in immediately. And then the second rider says it's an invitation to anarchy. That's Ayan, one of the contenders to the seat, speaking there, says it's an invitation to anarchy. And then there's a picture story below that. But by the picture story, you have 3 pieces. And the first one, the first one says Tinubu approves 65 years retirement age for doctors, healthcare workers. Tinubu approves 65 years retirement age for doctors and healthcare workers. You also have declare Ondo oil producing coastal communities disaster zone, reps tell federal government. Declare Ondo oil producing coastal communities disaster zone. House of Reps members tell, apparently those representing that area, tell the federal government. And then you have suspended Ogun monarch fails to meet bail conditions, remanded in Ilaro prison. Suspended Ogun monarch fails to meet bail conditions, remanded in Ilaro prison. Then you have 2 pieces under the picture story where you says Tinubu writes Senate 6 increase of 2025 budget to 54.2 trillion naira. And then you have the rider 4.5 trillion additional revenue will support economic diversification. That's the budget minister explaining that. And then you also have CBN restricts BDCs, Bureau de Changes, that is the Bureau de Changes, to 1 dealer bank per week for $25,000 FX purchase. Okay, CBN restricts Bureau de Changes to 1 dealer bank per week for $25,000 FX purchase. And then on top of the Tribune masthead, you have 2 pieces. First one says fire kills 17 children, injures 16 others in Zamfara Almajiri school. Fire kills 17 children, injure 16 others in Zamfara Almajiri School. You also have government officials paid 100% for same hospital project 5 times without construction. That's the ICPC boss. We saw that in the last paper too. It says government officials paid 100% for same hospital project 5 times without construction. ICPC boss. And then there's a writer says another listed wife, son, in-law on payroll. Wow. These are really interesting issues, you know. And then you also have, I guess we go to Daily Trust. Let's go to Daily Trust. All right. Daily Trust, it says, major headline here says, how 17 children died and 16 injured in Zamfara school fire. How 17 children died and 16 others were injured in Zamfara school fire. Then you also have a picture story apparently of the burnt school. And then you have by the picture story, you have 3 pieces. The first one says Tinubu raises 2025 budget to 54.2 trillion naira. And then CBN restricts BDCs, Bureau de Changes, to $25,000 FX weekly, Forex, FX. And then Senate Oke's sack of 3 recs. Senate Oke's sack of 3 recs. And then there's a strip under the picture story. I say world reacts to Trump's bid for US to take over Gaza Strip. The world reacts to Trump's bid for US to take over Gaza Strip. And then we take leadership. Yes, we take leadership. Leadership has major headline as Tinubu, 2025 appropriation bill. Tinubu returns to NAS, raises budget to 54.2 trillion naira. And then on top of that, you have a strip, says El Rufai disowns longtime friend Ribadu, backs Najatu. And then you have a number of pieces beside the picture story and beside the major headline. The first one saying counterinsurgency requires innovative responses. CDS, that is the Chief of Defense Staff, is the one speaking there. Counterinsurgency requires innovative responses. And then you have 17 children die in Zamfara school fire. You also have Orlando shareholders get 98 billion additional shares. 98 billion naira there. 98 billion naira additional shares. And then you have finally Senator Nwoko dumps PDP for APC. Senator Nwoko dumps PDP for APC. These are the number of papers that we're taking a look at today. And so then we have seen one of a few stories that run through the entire newspapers that we're looking at today. You have the story of President Tinubu increasing the budget. Yeah, that runs through almost all the papers, if not all. And then you also have the story of the Zamfara fire outbreak in a school that consumed the lives of 17 children and left 16 injured. And then you also have the PDP story of the Board of Trustees insisting or maybe going by the judgment of the court and saying, you know what, our secretary is Udeh-Okoye. And then you see Anyan, the person who was holding the seat before, now trying to fight back. That's another of the one of the stories that runs through the entire papers. And then you have the story of of the hospital that was paid for 5 times without any construction. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? Where do we start? Where do we start from?
I think we take it from the hospital.
From the hospital, okay.
The health sector is in trouble, and we needed to get that accelerated. But year on year, you've seen budget, and you go around the hospitals, you have not seen the real improvement. Now, number one, as we speak, I expect that for the 5 budget cycle for which the hospital was paid for, whoever was involved in auditing, whoever was involved in the payment, should right now be cool enough in detention until there are consequences for action. The error will continue. And of course, that went through the budget the 5 times.
That's it. Imagine that.
Which means it passes through the National Assembly, and some people were responsible for the oversight function.
Yes.
I think that we should name those who were responsible for the oversight function, and let them know that they have displayed incompetence in this particular matter, because the budget has gone through them. Maybe some of them were not there in 20 when they started, but they've been there for 2 years.
Now, yes.
They've been there for 2 budget cycles. So it shouldn't be the ICPC discovering that the job was not done.
Exactly.
It should have been those responsible for the oversight function.
Even at the appropriate
ministers should also be questioned. If you have budgeted for the same thing and you have paid, then you should have commissioned the project.
Exactly.
If the project was not commissioned,
it's been repeated.
How come the project you have paid for was not commissioned and staffs not deployed? So to a large extent, it's an administrative mess, and it's a show of shame. It's a show of incompetence. It's a show of unseriousness, from the minister to the permanent secretary to the directors to the National Assembly members, before you now talk about those who were responsible for audit. For me, as for the audit and the legal persons, they should be behind bar right now.
This is very unfortunate, really, Ben, because if you recall, one of the first editions of one program, not the press, but I think it was the polity or something that we had, it was national resolution. What should we be doing now? And I did say on that occasion that I expect that we block wastages. This is a huge waste. How can you have, for the same program, for the same project, 5 times of budget cycles, and nobody spotted it until now? And these, I mean, look at the number of persons who are supposed to be stakeholders, who are supposed to be involved, and yet the thing passed through for those 5 times. Clearly, this is not possible if there is nothing fishy going on. Clearly. It's very sad.
So you just told us that a lot of other budgets into infrastructure in health were possibly never done. Because we talk about the diagnostic center, we talk about a lot of other things. You see huge budget, but you go out there on the field,
nothing,
and there is really nothing to show for it. So I think that the guys in National Assembly need to sit up. And if they cannot do the job, they should get ready to quit. They are to make laws, agree.
Yes.
But their biggest responsibility, as far as I'm concerned, to Nigerians is the oversight function. Ensuring that the money that has been budgeted are appropriately deployed. And if there are issues, we should be knowing from them. It is not a matter of grandstanding. No. This project is supposed to be done. It has not been done. You invite whoever is in charge in that place, and then you get them dealt with. If whoever is now the big masquerade that chose to protect them, get him in as an accomplice, and the nation would have seen that we are serious, and then we will begin to move forward.
And then you would have set
an example
that this is not acceptable. But the way it is, like you started off at the beginning, where there are no consequences, this kind of sorry stories, show of shame, will definitely continue. Let's take it further as we go to the school
incident. Is sad because you are encouraging the children to leave the street and be in a proper school setting. And then we are having a fire that could affect as much as 33 children on the spot. I think that is not good enough, and that tells about our respect for safety standards. when you see, even in cars, wherever you see Nigerian group, we are more concerned about security. But the truth is that there is also that measure of safety. And I think that we need to raise the bar on safety, both in private and public institution and daily operation of Nigerians. We have left the health and safety aspect completely not just there.
Unattended.
That's why a vehicle that should take 4 passengers will have 7 or 8, and then the driver is struggling to change the gear.
Yeah.
And a lot of things. The practical reality for me is that safety must be placed in the front burner.
Sure.
At all sport.
Yeah.
At all sport. The safety of the children, safety of the property. If you are parking, how do you leave when you are done? You see that a lot of people are in a hurry to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
But we do not care about the impact of our action on the safety of ourselves and on the safety of others.
Yeah. And
so I think here is a failure of safety regulation, and whoever is responsible for health and safety in that state needs to not just visit the fire disaster site, but let's have an audit of all the schools before you go to other private and public environment, to be sure that we actually are following safety regulation
if you
in our design and construction.
A little bit further, you find out that they were there even in the night. So you begin to ask yourself, what were the children doing in school in the night? Because the story does not tell us that the school is a boarding school.
It might be a boarding school.
Okay.
We have also called it, and that's what some of us have also been asking. When you say it's the imaginary school, I expect that it's going to be boarding. I expect that the teachers are going to be within the environment.
Right.
I expect that a number of other things will be put in place. There should be a fire point, especially now that we are in Harmattan. How covered are the windows? Were the students using open fire to heat?
Maybe to create
yeah, to create warmth. So a lot of things had to be checked. But like I said, it's a failure of safety precautions. It's a failure of safety precautions. If all safety processes have been put in place, if there is a disaster, perhaps a minor injury, but not 17 students dying and 16 getting injured. Now that is the official report. We might not even say if it's beyond that.
It's more than that. All right, that's very sad. And from here, please, whoever is involved, the families who have been bereaved, we say, well, be strong, and may you be comforted. And then, of course, let's not just allow this to go unattended. Like he has said, let's do an audit of other schools and maybe of other public institutions, and be sure that the right firefighting equipment are in place, and that people are properly taught how to deploy those resources. And they should even have, once in a while, there's what they call fire drill,
of course, safety
drill, so that they can be accustomed to what's normally plays out during a fire, a similarity of what happens during a fire outbreak. So I do hope that somebody is taking note of that, and that we will not have to experience this in the any longer wherever in the country. It doesn't just have to be in Zamfara. It has to be something that's put in place all around the country. Quickly, let's talk about the budget. And by the way, you can call in now. The number is 08029938365, and let's get your own perspective. Yeah. So
yeah, on raising the budget. Yeah. Well, the budget has not been passed, so it's still in the process of being worked on.
Yeah.
If there is a reason to put additional provision,
yeah,
particularly that we think will improve the welfare of the citizenry,
yeah,
will create job and will possibly earn more revenue. I don't think there is any crime in making that adjustment.
Interestingly, Ben,
and when you look at the volume, what is the total size of the budget? Even when you add whatever they are adding and you become 54.2, we're talking of 36 billion naira. Dollars. $36 billion to a nation the size of Nigeria. Some states in America, as small as Arkansas, has got much more than that. They don't have our land mass, they don't have our population. So what exactly are we saying? So for me, an increase justifiably is not out of place, as long as we know what the increase is meant for, and as long as the National Assembly members, I will keep insisting, are not just there to appropriate, but they are there to do their oversight function. In which case you ensure that when the money is allocated, the money is followed, and the money can be seen to have done the job. Not that you do a project last year which was not done, now you want to do a review, they call it upgrade. Well, how can you upgrade what is not in existence? If it is not a failure of oversight function, an upgrade budget will not pass for a project that hitherto was not executed.
All right, so I interestingly, I had a guest on the policy some weeks back, and they were talking about the budget, and he clearly said that as far as he's concerned, even the budget at 49 point whatever it was before, that it was very small. And so that was Dr. Aliu Ilyas. He said that clearly, and he said as far as he's concerned, the budget for Nigeria should be a lot bigger. So that says that there are people who really are on the same page with the federal government on this. And of course, I mean, even the layman on the street knows that we need a whole lot more. But the fear in some quarters, if you read some of those headlines, is that it could cause some problems. Apparently, they are thinking in terms of maybe this could provoke an increase in the deficit. But I do not think so, because the basis on which the president has taken this move, this action, has to do with the fact that they realized much more than the targets in certain places. The customs, for example, delivered beyond target, and I think there was some tax, some other sources of income that delivered more than projected. Projected. So I do not think they are increasing deficits. I think they are taking cognizance of much more money that has come into the purse and want to deploy it appropriately.
And want to be able to account for it or capture it in the something.
So that they don't have a situation of spending outside of the
budget. Then of course, when you also look at it, when we're talking about budget, it has a deficit. It has to do with where is the deficit coming from. If I'm going to be able to construct an estate that will put workers in place and then solve the problem of accommodation in that environment over the next 5 to 10 years, that you are sure you won't have issues again, or you are fixing a road that will last 10 or 15 years, even if you incur the deficit now, you are sure that you will go back to reconstructing that road next year.
That's it.
And the road was going to boost economic activity that will over time account for the said deficit. So if we are not borrowing for consumption, if the borrowing is not to pay salary, if it is meant for infrastructure, and those who are responsible for the oversight function are able to do their own job diligently, then you will discover that the borrowing is not a waste and the deficit is what can be seen.
All right, so that's the position of my guest. What's your own position? Let's hear you as you call in on 00299383365. So we can do this together. So as far as you're concerned, once it is for investment and it's put in a good investment, then
and those who should do the oversight do their due diligence, we ensure that the money were appropriated and followed up, not that they were appropriated and diverted, because that's when the debt become bad. when you take the loan or you take the money and it was not used for what it's meant for, and then you now have to look for other sources to repay, then it becomes a pain. But if you take the loan and you do what you are supposed to do, and the project pay back for itself, then it wouldn't have been a bad idea.
And by the way, we now have roads. The government is back to tolling roads. Just yesterday, I think Akwanga Abuja Road, Benue, that road was the tolling was launched, and it looks to me that that's going to be a huge source of revenue for the federal government. And if you consider the number of vehicles that apply that road, you can be sure that government will have so much money in the kitty. And so, like he's saying, if you have roads that can generate funds to repay whatsoever has been incurred on them, then it's not a bad idea.
Definitely.
It's not a bad idea. So we're waiting for you, and the number to call is 0802-993-8365. Use the opportunity. Let's hear your own contribution, and let's go on to this story of the PDP.
No, I think the PDP's case is clear. For me, PDP has always been a party that knows how to use the court.
Okay.
And I would always insist that they have benefited from the court more than anybody else in Nigeria history.
Really?
And they have always been there, and they know how to manipulate themselves and use their matter from the court angle. So, and I think in this case, if they've been able to get the Court of Appeal to reject a stay of execution, then by the existing judgment, Udeh is the official authentic chairman, authentic secretary. Of course, so nobody have reason genuinely in the organ and structure of the party to oppose that. However, if there are individuals who think their rights have been trampled upon in a way, and they think that the justice system is too slow to help them, it will not be surprising to see where they do. I used to work in Zone 5, and I know that the PDP secretariat is a volatile spot. They are just next to my office then.
Okay.
So it's not strange to wake up in the morning, whether it was from the rejection of Mbadinuju as a governorship candidate for Anambra.
Yeah.
You see women came all the way from Anambra or from wherever to demonstrate in mood, or to you being inside the office and hear gunshot, or look out and see people carrying sticks. So I know them for that, and I'm sure that other neighbors in that environment know the party and the party secretariat for such notoriety. So it will therefore not be surprising if you see Anyanwu and his people doing anything. Right. But I think for the POT and the governors, right now, they have the court ruling to hide under to take whatever decision they are taking. And so we will just hope that very soon they will get the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court to place a final verdict. But for me, the PDP is an establishment party and a court run to a large extent.
Now, what does this what does it portend for our democracy when the biggest opposition party has been in disarray for only God knows how long now? I mean, how does that help our democracy?
Well, the thing is this: the PDP, like the MPN or the MPC, right, live large and leverage on institutional support of the government. And so for that kind of tradition, I don't see them doing well outside government, because they do not have the access to government institution that hitherto they have used to oil and drive the wheel of the party. So then one thing that is very clear for me actually is that it is difficult to be an opposition outside government totally. We are a parliamentary people, and so in a presidential system, therefore, it takes individuals who have the muscle to power opposition, not the government,
not the party,
because the party does not have the structure and the resources to do that.
If the party doesn't have the structure, how come individuals will now be able to step in?
Individuals can, the party does not have the resources. That's what I mean. Resources is the issue here. Okay. They may have the structure and the people and the organs,
all right,
but the resources to power the organs will not be there in the kind of party that they are. Because whether we like it or not, the NPC enjoyed the British support. Whether we like it or not, the MPN enjoyed the military support in 1978-79. Whether we like it or not, the PDP enjoyed the Abdulsalam Abubakar regime support to an extent, including them coming up with a candidate who everybody felt wasn't qualified to run, and the government rushing to get a white paper gazette that says he has been pardoned and so he's not guilty. Yeah. So over time they've had that, and when they were in power, we know what they were doing. But out of power, some of those resources and privileges are not available. So if we run a parliamentary system, for instance, it means that at least they still have members in the parliament. They were members in the parliament at all levels. So it will not be that once you don't have the president and the governor, you are left in limbo, because that's what has happened to them in many states. They are like in total limbo. And so if the resources is not there to carry people, to mobilize people in a largely poor environment like Nigeria, you need resources. Those who are moving the people to Abuja to come and attend the rally, it's not free.
It's not.
Port Harcourt to Abuja is between 25 and 30,000 naira by road. So if you hire a bus, it's not chicken change. It's not somebody on minimum wage. If you are on minimum wage, you cannot even do that trip on your own, because you spend 50 or 60,000 naira out of 70. Where do you make up? To eat when you get to zone 4 is to zone 5. Right. You pay 4,000 naira per meal for mama put, not for any standard booker. So it means your full month salary cannot cover you for a 2-day trip. So it is expensive to do some of these things. To be in opposition in Nigeria is absolutely difficult,
challenging.
So if you do not have your personal resources and resource base, it becomes very difficult to challenge certain things.
Does that also mean, Ben, that parties in power have to dip their fingers in the national treasury to be able to run their parties?
Well, do they have to dip their hands in national treasury? I really don't think so. But they are beneficiary of appointments. And those who have appointments from the state, right, should actually be able to support. In a welfare system, that is what it is. You get to become a board member and you get a brand new car. It means to an extent the office fees for your car.
Yeah.
To an extent, when you travel, there are allowances and there are a number of things. You possibly are able to employ one person or the other. Now, when you employ a child from the village, immediately the parents and the cousins become your loyalist. Even if you don't give them anything anymore, the appointment that you have extended to one of their own, right, becomes more like an opportunity. But when you are outside power, the extent to which you can influence some of those things are not there. So by and large, we live in a state that is not totally fair, where competition is not uniform. And so for that reason, where information flow is restricted. And so you can say that the party in power or the people in government get a higher patronage than those who may be outside. If you say it's the governor's daughter wedding, even without announcement, that place will be filled. Let him leave office as governor for 2 years. and let him not be holding any political appointment. They let him do the same event. No matter the announcement, you will realize that some of the businessmen who would have come when he was governor will not
be there.
Show up.
Wow. Wow. So it's all about patronage and all that. The number to call is 080-299-38365. This is important. Let's hear your own contribution. Where are you? Anybody home? Is anybody home? All right. Now, so
yeah, the rep member talking about declaring somewhere a disaster zone. For me, I think those are cliche and political talks. The reality here is this: throwing money, when you declare it a disaster zone, then you throw in money, then the money disappears. I think that what the state and the rep should be doing at the moment is, there is a University of Science and Technology in that zone. Go there with your commission an environmental impact assessment, the state of environmental renewal. Let a department in that school begin to run a project every year or whatever they can on environmental renewal for that coastal line. And then you have in place, this is what has gone wrong. This is what needed, what we will need to do. And this is how we can go about it. And then they are looking at all the options. Are there international funds that can be accessed? What are the project designs? What is the sustainable practice that is required in the environment? Just declaring it a disaster zone, no, for me, it's not the issue. Can the area host a seaport? I want to think so. But there should be a proper study, not a politically motivated locationing or a political statement of how many times have we declared education a disaster zone. How many times have, it's not about the declaration. All that the declaration is demanding for is throw money here. No, if the money come, what will the money be doing? As somebody always say that one great prayer will be that God will put something in your head before he puts something in your hand. Because when the head controls the hand, you get better result. But when the money you have controls your head, then you are in for a disaster.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So calling for disaster declaration when you have not come up with, because if he's a rep member, he has the capacity to institute a research in the Ondo State University of Science and Technology on what to do to sustain the coastal line.
A while ago, you talked about the need for a school around there to have as one of its courses something that has to do.
No, there's a University of Science and Technology in that zone.
Something that has to do with environmental science.
They have environmental sciences, and if you can't get them there, you should go to FUTA, still in Ondo State. So there are 2 or 3 institutions with capacity to do that. FUTA in 1992 developed a water icing that was meant to be used in that place. There has been a governor from that zone.
Right.
What has been done with that project? The professor who developed it might have died. Some of his students who worked on the project in 1992 today are professors. I think one of them is even the deputy vice chancellor. So the reality is that he should target the projects. If you have known this is what we can do to save this environment, to sustain it, you cannot begin to sell the project to NBDC, sell it to the State Ministry of Environment, sell it to Federal Environmental Protection Agency if there is any, go to NEMA. As your capacity as the House of Rep member, don't go with saying declare. It's not about declaring, it's about this is what we need done. And then you are pushing it for them to have it in their budget so that the environment can be saved.
Yeah. All right. So we take a break, and when we get back, we will be taking the last lap of the program, and we do hope that at that time you will find. I don't know. I'm sure that several of you are trying. Probably it has to do with network issues. Let's hope that by the time we get back from this break, we'll have a better report in that area. Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still on to KAFTAN Television, King Adebayo Film and Theatre Arts Network Television, that is. And we're broadcasting the press, that is the program where we look at the headlines of newspapers from the Abuja studio of the station. And my name is Dayo Omogun, and my guest Ben Agunloye here has been talking on a number of issues, and the last one he talked about had to do with going beyond theatrics or just noisy interventions to doing more concrete work. I mean, by the universities, by higher institutions, tertiary institutions, in their various areas where they are located, and I saw from that what he was talking about, one way or the other, basically is town and gown synergy, and I think that this is something that that all universities should be involved. We do know that abroad there are universities who make so much money from their research ideas, and there are universities involved in manufacturing of cars, if I remember correctly, involved in a whole lot of things, at least the designing and then all that. So I think that we need to spend some little time on that to talk about it.
No, basically, you remember when we were talking about tariff, I asked the question, across the telcos,
yes,
what projects are they sponsoring in Nigerian universities, whether for service improvement or for technology improvement, to say that we'll be running on diesel from 2001. So can we go to what are the other available options? It doesn't have to be one solution fix all. So there might be places like Jigawa or Katsina where you may even tap into the wind. There will be places where you could tide into the tidal along the coastal line. There could be places around Gwagwarada axis that I'm sure if you tap into geothermal, you may get result because there is so much heat coming from those grounds. There are places where, of course, we might be running the regular solar. But the idea is, are these telcos doing anything about it? Is NCC thinking of anything in that direction so that you can drive this? When you come to agriculture, what are today you see palm oil. Palm oil can survive, palm trees survive from the coast up to most part of Kaduna and Taraba. But how many are we doing? We are still importing palm oil. Palm oil for almost 10 years now has been more expensive than petrol. As we speak today, palm oil is about 2,500 naira per liter. If you buy on the way, I'm sure on Abuja Street it will be higher. But we can grow palm everywhere in the nation. And yet but no research has gone into how do we process. Universities, now when it comes to fabrication, Nigerians are talented when it comes to fabrications. Of course, we are brilliant and intelligent enough to design. So which means the entire process of technological production of tools and implements are within our reach. But who is driving it? We're just having people doing PhD and writing papers. How many of the PhD that have been done in Nasarawa State University have been put to practice in Nigeria? But are they graduating? Are they not graduating 50 or more PhD students yearly? It shouldn't be about the university earning revenue. I've been to one university somewhere in Africa and I said, look, I want to do this course. I think it was nuclear physics. And they told me, oh, you need 2 years for each of the 3 sections. I said, but in Nigeria, I can do the 3 in one session. In one, so that's, yes, in one session. One of the university run that. The guy now said, number 1, before we can even admit you, you must have the hospital that is ready to employ you when you graduate. At the time, not many cancer centers were in Nigeria as at 2007. The guy was very blunt. We will not give you an admission if we are not sure that there is an hospital that have the right linear accelerators, that have the right equipment, that is ready to do IGRT, that is already doing 3D, because those are the basics we will train you. And if you cannot go and use it when you graduate, 2 or 3 years down the line, your quality will drop. We don't want that. We don't want to waste our effort to produce products that will not have impact. Point blank, the professor told me. And that was that. So, but here in Nigeria, we just fix the school fees and everybody coming and everybody is a PhD holder on the street. But we are not seeing the impact on the industry. We are not saying they are not learning. We are not saying they don't have the intellect. We are great intellectuals in Nigeria. Yeah. But the disconnect is just there.
Yeah, I mean, the Minister of Interior just 2 days ago a few days ago, I guess last week, was talking about the need to emphasize the acquisition of skills as against just acquiring certificates. So that's it there. That's what you are also saying. Now, let's quickly go to the professor that was just jailed in Akwa Ibom again, and that has to do with election matters. Recall that one in that same state,
in the same state, yes,
was jailed earlier, and then this is second one. What exactly do you think is playing out here?
Well, what is playing out is simple. It tells us that if in that election things were wrong in several places, and then we have 36 rec, and then the only place where we could have people who are guilty of doing things wrong was just in Akwa Ibom. It tells us that perhaps Mikey Gini was the only truly committed rec at the time to ensuring probity.
Because it's from that
no, it's not from the state, but I know he had his running battles with the current Senate president, with a number of other politicians in the state, but he was able to sit up. He was able to sit up and follow up on what he should do. So I think that two things comes from there. Number one is that it's a pointer to the remaining recs in the country that they can help the electoral system by making sure that they discharge their own responsibilities. It's also a warning to people who are involved in conducting election. Imagine that the people he was trying to rig for, if they have won and they have gotten in 2019, by 2023 they have finished their term and they are over. But this is 2025. He is still standing trial since then, and now he's going to go to jail for 3 years for people who have earned their certificate of return and have successfully completed their tenure. So it tells you about consequence. And so when people here and there know that if you are caught or you are reported, you can go to jail, why the man you are trying to help will go into office
and enjoy
his term and may even not remember you thereafter.
Wow, what a shame. Well, that means that everybody involved in elections need to begin to really be very careful about the roles they play. How do they say it now? The evil that men do
lives with them, not after them.
Sometimes lives with them, not after them, not after their demise. So you need to be very careful if you're involved in any electoral process. Look at the high price a whole professor is going to pay, the price of jail for little or nothing, whatever it is that if it was compromised, whatever it was that it was given probably has been spent on legal fees right now, and he's still going to pay. His integrity has been questioned. His academic laurels will matter little or nothing, because if indeed the conviction stays, he will come out as an ex-convict, and that could do damage to his career permanently. And so this is really not worth it. It's not worth it. So let's take care and choose carefully the course of action that we take from time to time. Let's be on the proper side of the law, the right side of the law, and we will be all happy. Yes, in the process, one person or two may be unhappy because you have refused to do their bidding, but in the end you are happy. The system, the nation is happy because the right thing has been done. And so let's take one or two more. Yeah. Udeh-Okoye has moved from PDP to APC. Have we talked about that? No.
No.
Yeah. So
well, expectedly, I think it's not a surprise. He's been having issues with the governor. He's been having issues with the party, at least at the state level. And of course, we know that right now, the national body of the party is too busy with its own crisis to actually have the right direction to attend to what is fishing or going wrong in some of the states. And then, do you call it repositioning for 2027? I may also want to believe yes, and so it is. Why? He tends to have some clout. He's got his support base, and he believes that if he migrates to any party, he will obviously be, if he gets the ticket, he should be able to deliver himself. You know, like I said, the PDP is a place where you always have this feeling that you need the support of the state organ if you are to get anything. So if you are beginning to become a man of your own stature that you think you can stand alone, you also may want to begin to go away from the establishment people because you're sure you can make a name for yourself. And the wave of defection in Delta has been continuous. He's not the first to decamp, and even after his was made known, some others have also moved. And we have heard the one of the leaders of the party in the state, Omogun, saying yesterday that, hey, everybody is welcome, except it's just only these two people.
What does he mean by that, really?
What he's saying is that the two people seems to have created the problem in PDP that is making, in the state that is making them unstable. That so the two of them should stay there and fix the problem they have created.
No, is it not a plus for his own party if they cross over?
Well, he possibly has the belief that one, if the governor crosses over, is a problem
to him.
Yeah, to him, and possibly also even to the party.
How do you mean?
You saw it in Edo when Obaseki came. For so long the time, he couldn't even set up commissioners. The agreement he had with the PDP people, he couldn't honor when he got into office to a large extent, because he had his own people who were going to come with him, and there were going to be a lot of displacement. Now, the 2027 election for a politician is already too close than for you to allow that kind of how did the senator in Ondo State, what's the name? Oliver. How did Oliver used to call it? A movement of government. Okay. It's too low. It's too close for movement of government. Because a movement of government means they want to take over everything.
Yeah.
And by the time you do the congresses, they want to take over all the local government structures, and then they are going to displace all the existing leaders. Okay. And for a state like Delta, where the government has so much money, the governor can do so much that could silence a lot of individuals. So they will rather welcome individuals and not a movement of government.
All right, now, just before we leave that particular one, how does this sit? I thought that there was a law saying that if you defect, you lose your seat.
Well, the law was made, like I said, to favor, as at then, the PDP. I can say that point blank, because, like I said, they are an establishment people, and so they feel the establishment is always built for them and can protect them. Now, apart from Undo, I'm not sure that law has been tested to the Supreme Court level elsewhere, because what they say is, now if you also say that the PDP at the national has been dysfunctional,
is that the provision?
Yeah, the provision says when the party has crisis.
No, not just crisis. It has to be. It has to be that they are. What's the word now?
And they say crisis to the level that they cannot function. And the question would be that as the Wadata has been functioning in the last 3 months effectively.
No, that they must have. There's a particular word.
It's crisis division to the
exactly.
There is crisis to it's actually crisis division to the national level that has made it not to functioning. to the point of not functioning. And the question will be, is the PDP National Secretariat functioning in the last 3 months?
Who determines
in the last in the last meeting, were they able to have the meeting? Did they come up with any resolution? Did we not see somebody on TV being beaten? Were they not exchanging blow? Now the heart of the secretariat, the heart of the secretariat, but the heart of the secretariat is the office of the secretary, if you ask me. So if the office of the secretary has been in dispute to the point of open confrontation and exchange of blow, we also know that there were camp who say, okay, we don't want Damagun, we want Damagun. Abi? The Damagun and BoT. So it's, if you come within the frame of that, I think that he can prove that there are crises. But beyond that, there are also precedents. There was no serious crisis in APC when Saraki and Co moved. Did anybody call for them to?
There was no serious crisis in APC.
Yes.
Yes, but I mean, you can't take it midstream. Was there a serious crisis when they left the PDP to go to the APC in the first instance? Because
yes, of course, at that time there was a new PDP. People. No, at the point there was a new PDP that they actually formed and they operated. And they were not attending PDP meeting anymore. They were attending new PDP. Yes, PDP, like we said, they are party of the court. They will use court to address this and address that. But the practical reality at the time was that those set of governors and those set of individuals in the Senate, Tambuwa, Saraki, the former governor of Rivers, that they were no longer with the PDP, Rotimi Amishi and Co, that they were in new PDP was very, very clear. Including I think the guy in Sokoto then.
Okay.
They were very clear that they were not with PDP, and it was in the open. So to a large extent, it's an individual he has called in, he has decided to move. What the party can also do at the moment is to say, okay, we want to call for the seat to be declared vacant, and we want a new election. And the reality is that there are people, if you put them in the new party, and we run a new election and they contest under the platform of the new party, they would win. And that's why now they are trying to people are going to court to look for another back door to say that once an election has been won, there should be no by-election if the person in office dies or becomes unfit. Rather, it should be the party fielding another candidate to complete the term.
Wow.
So maybe if that kind of backdoor law principle passes into the law, right? Then going to the future, it might now favor them. But I also don't see that going through without some other amendment. Because what that says is the candidate that we don't need a new election. Just the party should do what? Get another candidate to continue. The way Dayo came up in Kogi.
Okay.
That should just be an affair of the party.
Or the party that won.
Originally to determine who completes the process. Now that would be a lot of cost saving for the nation, because INEC won't need to start running around to do midterm election or do fill-up election.
Yeah.
But however, before that passes, we know there are hurdles to face.
I mean, but this question of defection and loss of seat, I think there was somebody Boroface or something.
No, it wasn't Boroface. It was the rep representing, I think, one of the constituency in Ondo South, maybe Okitipupa or thereabout.
Okay, but there was a time Boroface defected. Okay, but he didn't lose his seat, right?
No, Boroface did not. It was the House of Rep member.
Yes, that's true.
It was the House of Rep member that Labour Party took to court.
Okay.
And then in the process, I think that yes, the case went up to Supreme Court and the seat was declared vacant. But I also remember that the election to replace him was never
held
conclusive. No, they actually did the election. The election was never conclusive. So the constituency was the bigger loser in the end, because they never had someone to replace him until there was a fresh election.
Wow. Well, what's happening today? We've not had even just one call. That's serious, and we opened the lines quite early. Must be symptomatic of some problems out there concerning the network. I do recall that making some calls earlier this morning, I was calling certain people and other people were picking the calls. People's strange voices were answering those calls. So I think there's a problem with the network. I made 2 calls earlier this morning, and unknown voices were answering. I had to cut off the line. So it probably must be that there's a general problem. But if you can, please do call in even in this last few minutes, just before we go on to other things. Let's hear what you've got to say concerning all of these headlines, and what your own take is, what your own perspective is, so we can also benefit from your own wisdom and your own insight. So please, let's do this. The number remains 080-299-38365. Let's see if we can just quickly swing one call, even just before we go. And then as we get ready to go, there's been a whole lot of intrigue, a whole lot of horse trading concerning the speakership of Lagos State House of Assembly. We all know the story up to the point where Obasa lost his seat, but there has been a whole lot of other stories about how they were trying to reinstate him, and how the big man was involved, was interested in his reinstatement. Of course, some other reports said he didn't back the reinstatement, but we just saw in one of the papers today that because he didn't meet with the GSE, it looks as if the deed has been done. It's like it's a stock. The
reality for me is this: from the onset, if you have 32 out of 40 saying we don't want him anymore, in the principle of separation of power, and with respect for the integrity of the house, I think that if 80% has shifted to one side, it's absolute majority. It's not 2/3, it's absolute. And their wishes, in my opinion, should have been respected.
But have we not seen
however,
like that where such
however, where there has been question of maybe balance as to, okay, there should be ease from Lagos West and the replacement should have been from Lagos West. But I also think that for expediency, the House looked at it as, look, the speaker is who has been taken out, the deputy is ably qualified,
and it's not tainted by whatever it was.
And it has not been tainted by whatever was wrong. So putting the deputy there, in my opinion, was also right, because in some cases what has been done in other places, you remove the speaker and the deputy together, right, and then maybe they begin to now put in new people. But in this case, it's just the speaker, so putting the deputy as his replacement, I think is okay. Now, going by, also know that there is this agitation of the indigenous Lagos people, so to say, who have always said, look, we want more stake in the running of the affairs of the place. So coming from the Lagos Central Royalty platform, it's more for me like already that sentiment seems to have been assuaded in a way.
All right.
Now asking her to step down will now be like telling those people,
bad blood,
you do not have the power or say in the affairs of the state. And if the other background information coming will be, Lagos West, of course, is the largest senatorial district in Lagos. Now, if they are saying that, look, there are as much as 19 or 20 other house members from Lagos West, and they have said, look, they are not interested in the position, Miranda should be there, then I think that is paid. Now, the party trying to untwist them will only suggest that the party has no respect for grassroots, has no respect for its membership
norms,
for democratic norms, and that would not be good. some of those
news.
Some of those pressing.
Gender issues will
gender will come in. Yes. The indigenous community will come in.
Yeah.
So a lot of factors are at play. So I just think that they should simply allow things as it is. If Obasan wants to remain in the house, he should. If you think he's too big to be a member, he should resign and let his constituency elect a replacement.
All right, so let's sleeping dogs like that's what my guest says, and this is the point at which we call it a day on the press this morning. It's been a wonderful time with my guest Ben Agunloye. My name is Dayo Omogun, and it's going to be bye-bye, even as we say thank you to every one of us who have stayed glued to your TV screens watching this program from your various parts of this great country. And we want to say thank you to all my team, my production team, wonderful people. Divine, big up to you and every other person who's involved in this. Thank you so very much. And at this point, thank you very much, Ben.
You're welcome.
We will just have to leave now, and it's bye-bye from Dayo Omogun.